well, if it's not all of my silly, goofy behaviors have caught up with me, I have a hernia, too. Before I reveal my transparent bag right here, this is your one and only warning. This is an educational video, and if this is going to bother you, please look away now. This is my stoma. I'm using transparent bags because, as you guys recall, me cutting the filter out of the opaque bags, I decided to just go ahead and switch to this. They don't make the opaque bag without the filter. And quite honestly, I kind of prefer this. So I'm doing a bag change. Personally, my reason being is that I've just had it on since Sunday and it's Friday. So I've kind of sweat a good deal over the week, especially yesterday. It's getting hotter. That's what all this white is right here. It's sweat that has collected. So I haven't had any leaks. Also, with the transparent bag, it gives you the opportunity to really see the Eakin's seal, this one here. That's been absorbed kind of around real close to the stoma. And it swells up as it absorbs stuff, which is kind of neat. It does that. It like actually expands and makes the seal better until it's not. So over time, like I said, over time, when it's not, stuff will start to like push up underneath and kind of in between the stoma and the seal, and it absorbs a lot. And you don't really want all that like stool sitting on your skin. Another reason to change it is you'll notice like leaks and stuff maybe start to come up underneath the wafer. You really want to change it before that happens, because like I said, you don't want that stool sitting against your skin, in particular because there's like a lot of acid in it, because it's still got your stomach acid in it since you don't have your full colon to like pull that all out, and because of that it can cause infections on your skin pretty bad and pretty easy. So I'm doing a change today because I've had this on for a while and I just want to get cleaned up. I do have a peristomal hernia right here. And like I said, my silly goofy behaviors, I had not been wearing a hernia belt while I was doing strenuous activities like lifting stuff up or like hiking and whatnot. And I really should have been wearing a hernia belt during those kinds of activities. But, you know, I thought it was like young and tough forever. And while that's good and great, and all, you know, I'm getting older. Anyway, so now I have, this is from a drill bit that I had removed 2023, I believe. So that doesn't help. You know, you have surgeries and stuff. Abdominal surgeries are going to contribute to the likelihood of having stoma or hernias. So anyway, there's apparently like 2 of them in here. I'm waiting to get them fixed. It's going to be a while before I can get them fixed, just for reasons. It's a slow process, I guess. So I should have been wearing my hernia belt during that time. Also, I had not been using adhesive remover to take this off, and I think that may have somewhat contributed to the issue. Boop. I'm going to be using baby oil, and I know some people say don't use baby oil, but like it's affordable and there's a lot of it, and I can kind of easily clean it off. So I'm just going to gently pull off the barrier strip, which is this piece here. It's sitting on top of my wafer like this to help hold my wafer down. And I'm going to gently pull this part off because it's pretty easy to get off without any adhesive remover. So I'm just going to go around the edge like this, and you see how easy that is to kind of pull off. I use these because they absorb sweat. It's a hydrocolloid sheet, something like that. It's the same thing as those like acne patches that people put on their face, honestly. And so it helps to hold the whole wafer down, especially with me using a deep convex wafer, which has a tendency to push outward. Those strips are going to help like hold it onto my skin. You can actually see where the other sheet, this product here, is underneath it, and it's a lot stickier. So it's a different stickiness, and it's going to take a different product to get that off. So I'm gonna, it's getting a little tough there. I always have a problem with pulling it off down here at the bottom. I think the skin's just like, I've had a couple of kids, so all my stretch marks and stuff are down here, and I think that skin is just more delicate. So being very careful, kind of hold it back, because again, this is where my hernia is over here. And there is, see how hard it is to pull. So I don't want to like keep pulling, because I do think that that may have kind of contributed to me getting a hernia. Is when I pull this off, I would just be like, and you see how much it really pulls. I'm not saying that caused it. I'm saying there's some contributing factors here. So one thing I can do is drizzle this on there, and because it's kind of messy, I would like a towel somewhere. I don't use this. I normally have more. That's okay. This can get kind of messy. Oops. We didn't see any of that. All right. So I just drizzled a bit there, and I'm just gonna let it sort of do its thing. You can see it pulling apart there. I'm not even doing anything other than just kind of supporting the pouch. And I don't want to use too much all at once, because then it'll just like drip all the way down my skin and be pointless. So you see it's like no more of it there. It's starting to be white. I'm just going to drizzle a little bit more. And this part takes the longest. I've tried different adhesive remover like sprays and stuff. I'm not against doing that, but you only get like 2 ounces of it per month, and it doesn't last very long. And this stuff, as you can see, is like really, really on here. So it takes a lot of adhesive remover spray. My opinion about it is that 2 ounces is just not enough to effectively get this off. It takes a lot. And if you pull on it too much, you know, you risk, like I said, just contributing to possibly giving yourself elevated risk factors for a hernia. So I'm just letting it pull itself off. And yes, it's a slow process, but we'll get there. And again, I don't want to put too much all at once, because it's just going to end up like it's already dripping down here. That's okay. I'm going to clean all that up. I tend to do this in like clothing that I'm probably going to change anyway. Oh, that was a lot. So you can see how that Eakin's seal really absorbed a lot of the very liquidy output, which I did have a tremendous amount of in the past couple of days, which is not normal for me. The last bit, I think, is the hardest to get off. Ah, I just went right down my pants. I get kind of impatient. Oops, I put that right on my stomach, didn't I? Okay, let me get it. Come on. Oh, I forgot to get it back. Okay. That's not new. I'm a little more prepared than this. I'm going to use this. These are the bags that come with the product. Okay, let me get this cleaned up. So next, there's like obviously a bunch of oil all over everything. I still have a lot of that residue. So the first thing I'm going to do is use some soap and get the oil off. And then I'm going to use some adhesive remover wipes, which these are the ones that I have. I'm only allotted these 2 per bag change, but I end up using 4. So I use twice as much as I'm supposed to. Again, 2 ounces is not a lot. So I'm going to use Dial, is it Dial soap? I think this is dial soap. You want to get a low residue or a no residue soap to do this with, because things like Dove bar soaps have lotions in them. I'm not even sure that they're considered soaps. I think they call them beauty bars or something. So I've got some hot water here, and I'm just going to wipe. I have personally found that this sticky stuff here, I don't want to wash that sticky stuff down my sink drain because it's extremely absorbent and it's very sticky. And what happens is that any bits of it will stick to the inside of my sink drains and will, over time, just absorb the water that's in there and start to cause a clog in your sink. So I don't recommend actually scrubbing off and washing that stuff down your drain. It's like this bit here, I'm not going to let that go down my drain. I'm going to use these wipes and with my now very baby oiled fingers, use this wipe to soften up all of that adhesive that you can see that's been left behind. So I rub this all around and let it sit there for a sec to sort of soften it up. And then I use baby wipes. And this is super controversial to do, is using baby wipes in your stomach. I'm using these, they're called water wipes. I don't want any of this stuff in my drain, so I'm gonna just wipe it all off. And it takes probably like 10 of these wipes. But I promise you it's better than them going in the drain. See all this sticky stuff here would be sticking to the inside of my sink. It's very gelatinous. Honestly, it's like a good opportunity, what feels like scratching something that you, obviously you don't want to actually scratch it, but you know, you're just like rubbing an itch that you haven't been able to scratch in a week. I'm being gentle. Oh no, it's gonna get stuck in all my little hairs down here. That's the worst. Ignore me trying to get all that out. Such is life. Let's just put it away. I'll just really try to wipe all this off. And you saw I only used one adhesive remover wipe for that initial little swipe through. I got most of this. This is how I avoid having to use a bunch of adhesive remover. And then last, let me use one more. This will get like the very last of it off because you really want to get absolutely all of it off. I personally don't find that these ones sting, but everybody's different. All right, we'll let that sit there for just a sec. Let it, you know, dissolve the rest of it. And take a last wipe here, maybe the last, and get the very bits off all around the edges. All right, this looks all right. I'm going to use soap again and wash it with some soap some more. So again, using that low residue soap. This one might be Ivory soap. So I've got soap on my hands. I'm gonna go all the way around, getting all that oil and chemicals off and scrubbing that area really well. I'm not using my fingertips, I'm just, you know, right here. And now the important part is to get all that soap off your skin. Soap, chemicals, oil, everything off your skin. You want it to just be water. So I've rinsed off my rag here, wipe it off, and then thoroughly rinse off my cloth, and I'm gonna put soap on it one more time because I like to do a little good measure. Really make sure all of that oil, chemicals, the adhesive remover, just everything is off my skin. So I've got more soap on my hands here. I'm just going in and up against my stoma, feeling to make sure I got all of that adhesive remover off. Or adhesive, I should say, I'm sorry. All right, that's good. And again, got all that soap off of there. So I'm going to continuously just rinse off my washcloth here and keep wiping my skin so that I get all that soap off. And the soap kind of gets stuck up in your rag, so just really make sure that you wash your wash rag out really, really well in between wiping it. So sometimes I'll do this like, you know, I say do one more for good measure. This one in particular, I'll probably like do 2 or 3 extra swipes at it for good measure because I want to get all of that off of my skin so that it keeps my skin really clean and not broken out. I want to say that should be good, but I'm going to do one more. Especially like, you know, I said that there's this stomach acid that's kind of still in your pouch, and that when that leaks, that acid can be pretty bad for your skin. So in this case, I've been taking this and just swiping over my stoma, but there's still that stomach acid actually on my stoma. So it's going to be good for me to kind of just wipe off without touching my stoma, so that I'm just getting the last bit of that stomach acid off that I may have wiped over my skin. So now it's wet, my skin's wet, and I want to dry it off. So take a little bit of tissue here. It actually dries. This peristomal skin is, I don't know, 8 years old, I think. And it dries off really fast. I say over time it kind of feels like dolphin skin. So one thing you notice is this bleeding here. I'm going to just show you, it is blood. You see a little bit of bleeding there. For myself, that's normal. If you're having that, talk to your doctor. All right, so now I've got my wafer. Because my wafer's so big for me and it goes over my belly button, a couple of things I'm going to do is I'm actually going to kind of visually shift my stoma over. I'm sorry, my wafer. I'm going to just kind of shift this way. What that means is that on the back of this, instead of cutting it so that it's centered here, I'll visually kind of shift it down like this. So my stoma is not just oval, it's an oval this direction. And I was able to determine that whenever I first got my stoma. What I did is I just did that and stamped it on the back, and you can see on the back. So that's one thing you can do is kind of stamp your stoma onto the back of this, and then you'll be able to see that liquidy stamp on the back and cut around that. And cut it just ever so slightly larger so that your stoma has room to kind of expand and dance. So I already know the size of my stoma. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that angle. So I said it was kind of at this this angle like this. I'm gonna cut. Oh, I should make sure you guys can see what I'm doing. Like this. Here's that angle. It's arts and crafts time. And like this. So this is how I'm shifting it over. I didn't put it directly in the middle. I actually shifted it down. So now I'm going to cut out the shape of an egg. And making sure to leave 10 millimeters at least on the edges. So you can see I've left some space between that blue and the bottom there, and some blue up here and the top here. That's going to give it some space from the edge here, which you really need. I'm being very brave, just letting my stoma hang out like that. I'm going to cover it up. We don't want any accidents. So now that skin's dry, I'm going to keep prepping my stuff here. Pull the back of that off. And now I'm going to use this seal. Now, a lot of people put the seal directly on their skin, but I've had several stoma nurses and other ostomates show me this trick, and I think it works really well. Is to take that seal and actually put it on the wafer itself. So I'm just evenly stretch this out. You want to do as evenly as possible, because if you stretch too much in one spot, it will just thin out in just that one spot. So I stretched it out a good deal. And again, it's sort of an oval shape, so I'm going to do that. This is the trickiest part, is putting this on here so that a little bit of this is showing on the inside here. So the trick is to just lay it on very gently and then look at the other side. Get all of my hair off of it. And then I can kind of see it hanging out over the edges here. So that's good enough. I'm actually just going to take my finger and press it like that, because it's pushing a little bit of this material to the outside, and that's going to help create a good seal. And now I'm going to push it down. Great, this is ready. Now I'm going to prepare the protective sheet. I use this because it absorbs a lot of sweat, and my skin is extremely sensitive to adhesives, especially the adhesives on the wafer. And this sheet saved my skin, especially early in the process when I had my ostomy. I was just breaking out from almost everything, and eventually I was sent this, and it fixed all of that for me. So this I don't really need to make go off like to the side, because it just sits like this. It's not going to be in the way. So I'm going to put my hole in the middle on this one, but I am going to cut it substantially larger than this hole, because I want this thing right here actually sitting flush on my skin. This part I'm not allergic to. I don't have any issues with this, and this also absorbs a lot of my output and helps create a seal. This part right here otherwise would be touching my skin, which I'm trying to use this to protect my skin from this, not this. So I end up cutting the hole larger on this so that this part can sit against my skin and this part's not sitting against my skin. So I'm going to set this down. I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to poke a hole through the middle to give myself a starting point. And I'm going to make that same line that I did on the other one, kind of that diagonal. That's for my shape of my stoma and everything that I need for my stoma. So I'm going to make this larger. So you see, it's a good deal larger. Sorry, this isn't easy to just keep picking up. There we go. All right. So there's two pieces on the back I've got to take off. There's a sticky side, and then there's a side that's not sticky. And you can kind of lift up and feel which side. This not sticky side is the side that'll face out. And then you want the sticky side on your skin. So I'm going to peel off this one. And now I'm going to take this off. Thank you. Can I have that? You're so comfortable. And I'm going to take this piece off. Don't forget this piece. I wish they would make this a different color. I have forgotten to take this piece off so many times, and then I'll be sitting there going, what is so dang itchy? So I'm very carefully make sure that this is not touching my stoma on the edges, which is probably the biggest trick here. Great. Now I can peel off this outer white piece. You see it's not over my belly button. It's not touching my stoma, and it allows for that ring to sit against my skin. So next is this piece here. Now I'm using the deep convex. It doesn't really matter which one you're using. Once you get to this step, what you're gonna do is kind of say, where do I want you to be? Remember, I'm trying to not go over my belly button. So when we get to this step, I've got to kind of sit like this. You want to stretch your body out as much as possible. Sit up straight. This is the part where you got to like stretch your skin out, because I'm leaning over and I push this down and get it nice and snug. When I pull up, my skin's going to be stuck underneath it. So here you really want to stretch out. Sometimes when I push down on this, a little output might come out. So I'm going to cover this up, just in case. Stretch out, and then press it in. Great. And just hold it there. So you can use a blow dryer at this point. I think it's a great idea to use your blow dryer at this point to get all of this warmed up. So I'm going to grab that. It'll be a little bit noisy, but I only have to hit this for about 15 seconds and it'll be good. That's actually probably good. So it's nice and warmed up. Can press it on nice and firm. Okay, now I talked about those barrier strips at the beginning, how they were really easy to pull off without the adhesive remover. That's what these are. So I've pulled off the backing. Once you do, this is so bloody sticky. It's awful. I'm going to start over here on my belly button side. I'm going to go under the tab because I want to use my tabs. So I'm going to go under the tab and place exactly where I want that one to be. Like that. Press it down and start working my way this way. I'm going to kind of stretch out a bit doing this. Now the tricky part, go under the tab, stay in line, great. That one's on. Now I'm going to do the bottom one. Peel these off, starting where my belly button is because that's the tricky side. Here. All right, and then over the wafer under the tab, like this. All right, that should be good and secure on there. One thing I can do is actually go and push down on the inside right here. I used to do this with a Q-tip. I don't recommend doing that because what would happen is I would start pushing on it and it would slip in between right there. And that hurts a lot. I don't think that's a good idea. So this is what I do now. All right, we're on. Where's my actual bag? There it is. This is the one that I'm going to click on here. I'm making sure that it's all good. Starting at the bottom, I sort of go under like that and then just work my way up. Push it on. This is why they call it a click system. You've got this lock right here that locks. Now, a lot of people will like unlock this like that, and they'll pull it off to burp it. When you do that, pull on this tab. Don't pull on your lock to burp it, because when you pull on the lock, you could snap and break the lock coupling that goes all the way around. So pull on this tab right here if you're gonna burp your pouch. And to burp it, you're gonna take your hand and place it like this here to hold this down, and you'll pull it off like that, and then you can press your gas out and close it back down. I have found that that weakens this lock system and also weakens the seal, and I personally find that it causes leaks over time to do that. A lot of people will burp it that way, and a lot of people like these click system bags because of that, because you can burp it there. I recommend burping out of the bottom of the pouch by kind of leaning back, opening, and then pressing and allowing that gas to come out. And then at that point, I might clean up a little bit if I need to, make the gas sort of push some stuff out. But then just, you know, roll it back up and go about your day. You haven't compromised the integrity of any of this here. I do still have a little bit of sticky stuff on my tummy. I hate that. All right, now I'm gonna put on my belt. And this is the belt that I made. So, you know, a little advertising here. This is my hernia belt that I'm gonna wear. I should show you where my hernia is while I was doing all of this. That would have been useful. I'm pulling my tabs to the outside of my ostomy pad cover. This is great. It absorbs extra sweat, helps protect my clothing from any of that sticky stuff that may sort of just crumble up throughout my life. It happens. So I just put, you know, my boxers over the top of this. Normally they would kind of sit like this, and that's what I'm talking about. This stuff will get kind of sticky and then it gets on my clothes. And so I like using this thing. And then also sometimes this part will get sticky and it'll get on my shirt. So this protects it from that. Now I pulled those tabs out. I'm gonna clip these. This is a belt that comes with this pouch system. I think you get one of these per month with your insurance typically. So that's clicked on there. Now I could just wear it like this. This is comfortable. What I'm gonna do is put on my hernia belt because it's helpful to me. So like most of these hernia belts, they'll be strips, some sort of closure, and then a hole. And what you do, you might be thinking, oh, I'll put it on here like this. You actually pull the bag through and then sort of adjust it wherever you need your ostomy belt to go. I'm looking into getting a soft version for me to wear like to bed and stuff, but honestly, I know that it seems like, oh, that's really stiff. It wouldn't be very comfortable. It is surprisingly very comfortable. Hernias can be quite painful, mine is, and having this extra support feels a lot better than how uncomfortable and painful that that hernia is, the peristomal hernia. So this is how I put this on. I'm gonna sort of adjust it so that it sits right over the top of where my hernia is. I have an oval shape so that it goes around that lock system, so that whenever I bend, move, and shift and stuff, it's not pushing up off my bag. I really want to make sure that it's not right up underneath it, because if I bend over, it might pull the whole bag off, even though it's locked. All right, good enough for me. This is my change. I might put a cute little bag cover over this, but I'm not going to do that right now or today or in this video. All right, take care, guys.